And of course, most of the focus in the press tomorrow will be about households. It'll be about the 5p cut. It'll be about the raising by £3,000 of the national insurance threshold. It'll be about the looming energy bills and whether the Chancellor gets it. But I do increasingly think that this government doesn't really get entrepreneurship, doesn't really understand it, doesn't really seem to believe in it. Perhaps I'm being unfair. But what did today's statement do? What did it do for our growth prospects? What did it do for investment? What did it do for entrepreneurship? Well, one man who I'm hoping can answer all of those questions is Sir Martin Sorrell of S4 Capital.
I'll have a try.
Please.
The answer is not much, actually.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But it's a spring statement, to be fair. It's not a budget. I mean, it gets called a budget in a way, or mini budget, but I don't think it was designed to that. I think postpone the evil day, because we have a lot more issues coming down the track. I mean, in 6 months' time or so, we'll have another energy cap breakthrough in terms of pricing. We'll have more inflation. It'll probably peak at around 9% in some months, and it'll run for the year probably at about 7.5%, 8%. Growth has been checked from, 6%? The Chancellor was proudly saying we're the fastest growing economy in Europe.
Those days
that's gone. Government debt is 83.5% of GDP, and service costs of the debt are rising because interest rates are rising. Yeah. So a lot of issues. We have to see how the war in Ukraine plays out. Hopefully it'll come to a conclusion more rapidly, but it doesn't look that way at the moment. So a lot of things to be dealt with. And then he's given himself a lot of political wiggle room. I think this is more about politics than it is what you were talking about.
Saving up the money for a pre-election giveaway?
Well, you've got the 20p goes to 19p in April of 24. So what's your bet on the election date?
I would have thought that it looks increasingly likely to be the end of 23, because vote for us and we're going to cut your taxes.
Well, then we'll have a budget in October. We'll see a lot more of the issues we just talked about. Yeah. So I think it gives him political wiggle room. But to your question, no, there's nothing here. In fact, if anything, it goes the other way, because NIC contributions for employers.
It's a tax on jobs.
Yeah, there's 6 billion. I mean, it's 12. That's 12 billion that was the NIC was going to cost. You've given half of it back to employees. Fair enough. The other, and that was meant to go to the National Health Service. Whether it will or not, we'll see. The other 6 is a burden on employers. Now, we've got pretty full employment. I mean, much more than we thought was probably likely. But I come out of today probably feeling a little bit more nervous about the UK economy than before.
And the forecasts for growth going ahead
are even lower.
Are dismal.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, you look at global growth. I mean, this year before the war, we were talking about global growth of 4 to 5%. Last year it was 5 to 6. This is nominal. Next year it was at 2 to 3, and the year after probably about 1.5 to 2. So it's going to come down anyway because of the post-pandemic fiscal monetary stimuli have all been withdrawn. So I think that was in the calculus for anybody running a business. But I think it'll be a bit more severe given what we've seen.
But there are things, aren't there, and I accept it's not the full budget, but there are things, aren't there, that government can do to help business?
Well, but they're much more fundamental, Nigel. I mean, post-Brexit, I mean, I was recalling Harold Macmillan's phrase about, events, dear boy, events. You've had the pandemic, you had Brexit, you had pandemic, and you've now got the war in Ukraine. So events really have overwhelmed them. And all of the things that we had to do post-Brexit, all the apple pie and motherhood, but the fundamental things around education, around infrastructure, both hard and soft, all these things have really been sidelined by the events, and the government, for understandable reasons to be fair, have really focused on them. From a political point of view, picking up on what you said earlier on the programme, the two parties, the main parties, are indistinguishable.
Oh, that's what I
think. There was a wonderful graph today about tax rates under prime ministers. Tax rates under Mrs. Thatcher were the biggest cuts. Who's the prime minister who's presided over the highest increases? Boris Johnson, more than Blair and more than Wilson, which is
we're almost
remarkable.
back to sort of the Attlee days, aren't we?
Well, it's 70 years, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, and the other real point is that real household income is going to be down by 2 or 3%, which is the fastest rate of decline that we've had for 70 years.
So disposable
50
income,
years.
disposable income is going to be a real problem, isn't it?
And then we have pay increases in an inflation environment of 7%. Government is recommending teachers get 3%. So you're going to start to see considerable friction in the public sector.
Oh, yeah.
That spills over into the private sector. So all of these issues are going to play out, I think, over the summer and into the autumn. And then we'll have to see what the budget does with it.
So, Sir Martin Sorrell, marks out of 10 for Rishi Sunak's performance
Well,
today.
I heard the question. I came out with a 5, but maybe on the basis, I'm a little bit depressed by this conversation, maybe 4.
A 4, there we are. You're joining me on the 4, Sir Martin Sorrell. Thank you.
Thank you very much
Very
indeed.
much indeed for
Thank you.
joining me.